When you think of school lunch, you probably picture a soggy sandwich in a loud, crowded cafeteria. But school lunches have come a long way. Over the past 100 years, we've evolved from basic meals to more balanced, diverse options with fresh fruits, veggies, and whole grains on the menu. In this video, we're diving into the surprising history of school lunch. Back in 1910, school lunch looked very different from what we know today. Most meals were provided by volunteer-run programs, and if you were lucky enough to live in a big city, you might find a hot lunch for just 3 cents. What did that get you? Usually something simple: soup, bread, and a glass of milk. And if you had an extra penny, you could upgrade with a scoop of rice pudding or some candied fruit. Sure, it wasn't fancy, but for many kids it was better than going hungry or relying on whatever was at home. During the Great Depression, most schools couldn't afford to serve hot lunches, but as families struggled, the government stepped in, authorizing the USDA to buy up surplus food from farmers and send it to schools. Suddenly, cafeterias were serving more beef, pork, butter, and other farm staples. In places like New York City, relief groups handed out fresh apples, bananas, veggie soup, and peanut butter sandwiches. It wasn't fancy, but for millions of kids, school lunch became a lifeline. One of the few reliable meals during one of America's hardest times. The 1960s brought a game changer to the lunch tray: pizza. This was the decade when school cafeterias started to look more like the ones we know today. Bigger, more centralized, and serving hot meals to the masses. It was also a turning point for policy. Congress passed the Child Nutrition Act, expanding the National School Lunch Program and making free or reduced-price meals available to millions of low-income kids. Pizza might have been the fan favorite, but access to food was the real milestone. By the 1970s, fast food had found its way into the cafeteria. Chains like McDonald's and Burger King started selling their meals in schools across the U.S. In Houston, for example, students in 1974 could choose from chili burgers, oven-fried chicken, buttered corn, and fruit gelatin. School lunch was starting to look a lot like a drive-through menu. At the same time, federal nutrition standards were slipping. The USDA's guidelines only required a minimum nutritional value, and that shift would shape school lunches for years to come. In the 1990s, fast food officially went mainstream in school cafeterias. The federal government gave the green light for vendors like McDonald's, Little Caesars, and Chick-fil-A to serve lunch in schools. For schools, it meant funding. For big brands, it meant steady profits, and a direct line to millions of young consumers. Meanwhile, home-packed lunches weren't much better. Think Dunkaroos, Gushers, Fruit by the Foot, and Airheads, a sugar-loaded lineup that kids loved. It was a fun era for school lunches, but also one of the unhealthiest. Obesity rates began to climb, and the consequences were just beginning to show. By the 2000s, the warning signs were too big to ignore. With childhood obesity on the rise, schools started rethinking their lunch menus. Out went some of the processed options. In came meals like grilled jerk chicken, BBQ pork sandwiches, and fresh fruits and veggies instead of canned ones. Natural and organic food companies also saw an opportunity. Brands like Stonyfield Farm and Annie's began entering the school lunch and snack market, offering healthier alternatives aimed at kids. It wasn't a full transformation, but it was the start of a new food movement in schools. In 2010, school lunch got a major makeover. President Barack Obama signed the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act, setting new standards for what kids across the country were served in cafeterias. At the same time, Michelle Obama's Let's Move campaign pushed healthy eating and fitness into the spotlight. And suddenly, school lunch was part of a national conversation. Healthier meals started showing up on trays: more whole grains, more fruits and veggies, and fewer processed options. It wasn't perfect, but it marked a real shift toward nutrition-focused school lunches. The 2020s have brought new challenges and fresh opportunities for school lunches. With the COVID-19 pandemic disrupting schools nationwide, lunch programs had to quickly adapt, expanding grab-and-go meals and meal deliveries to keep kids fed. At the same time, there's been a growing push towards sustainability and local sourcing. More schools are partnering with local farms to bring fresh, seasonal produce to the cafeteria. Nutrition is still a priority, but now there's also a bigger focus on food waste reduction and accommodating diverse dietary needs like plant-based and allergen-friendly options. The school lunch landscape continues to evolve, blending health, convenience, and care for the planet. From penny soups in 1910 to sustainable, locally sourced meals in the 2020s, school lunch has come a long way. It's more than just what's on the tray. It reflects who we are, what we value, and how we care for the next generation. As the world changes, so will school lunches. And maybe that's not such a bad thing. Thanks for watching The Flavor Show. If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment about your most memorable school lunch. The good, the bad, or the questionable. See you next time, where we'll explore another story hidden behind what we eat.